Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are talking about the Boston Bruins versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, a matchup that before we get anywhere, I want to thank the hockey gods for giving us, because we are being blessed with the best matchups that we can get. Toronto versus Florida. Florida versus Tampa Bay. What a series that's going to be. We get Boston versus the Maple Leafs. One of the best series that goes on ever. That seems like that just is always inevitably reoccurring in the NHL. And then before we even get to like the Western Conference, just those two right there, we are already blessed with two of the best rivalries and best hockey that we're going to get out of it. And we're talking about one of them today. The Bruins versus the Maple Leafs. What a series these two teams always put on. And not just that, but also like where we are with like the stakes and the history between these two teams and the outcomes from them are going to be so interesting to see. Because think, before we even like break down who should win or anything, think about the outcomes of these two teams. If the Maple Leafs finally win, if they can get over the hump that is the Boston Bruins, right? Now, forever it was always the hump was the first round. They finally beat it last year, and then they get just powed in the face by the Florida Panthers. But the Boston Bruins have always just been a pain in their ass for the last six matchups that they've gone against them. The Bruins have won every single one of them, and especially recently, and they beat them in 2013, 2018, and 19 in the first round of the playoffs. And 18 and 19 were both back-to-back Game 7 7-game series, and Boston wins them all the time. Boston just keeps winning them. One of the most one of the most like re-shown in all those like hockey clips and all those montages and compilations you find on YouTube. The one where Bergeron scored that big goal at the end there and is one of the most re-shown goals of all time. And it's just, this series is so much in it. And if the Maple Leafs could finally win this series, there's going to be so many, like, news, you know. The news for the Maple Leafs winning is going to be huge. Everyone's going to be talking about that they beat the Bruins finally. This is going to be the year. This is going to be this. This is going to be that. Matthews, if they win, is going to score 400,000 goals. Marner and Willie Nylander are doing amazing, whatever. Like, there's going to be so much out there. And then the Boston Bruins will just all be the talk that Boston's dead. It was Bergeron's era is gone. Marchand's next. You know, the Bruins, they gotta rebuild. They gotta sell O'Mark away. They gotta get rid of whoever the hell else, get rid of Marchand. And it's going to be so much like that. Or, then the opposite end of the spectrum, the same old, where the Bruins win, they move on, and everyone's just kind of happy about that. And then the Maple Leafs, their cycle of them being a failure, will continue over and over and over again. And let's just say I already know what my opinion is on that. But let's talk about it. So, these two teams, the Maple Leafs finishing off third in the Atlantic Division, which means they're going to be getting the away privileges for the series, which I know is a ridiculous thing. That's just a long way of saying that the Boston Bruins, getting second in the division, will get home field advantage to start the series, which is going to be huge. Because Boston versus Toronto, having that just any sort of edge above the opponent in such a tight rivalry of this one, is going to be a huge help for one of the teams. And Boston, they secure that. And in the regular season series, one of the things that I don't like basing things off of a lot, but especially when you have a series like this, where whenever Boston-Toronto play, they are playing a rivalry, so they are playing a tight game. Because sometimes you look at some of the series like you look at like Vegas versus, you know, like the Avalanche. Not the Avalanche is a bad example, but like you take like a random matchup that's going on right now, like the the Islanders versus the Hurricanes. Like, sure, they're both in the Metropolitan Division, but, like, they, you know, like, it's not, like, a true, like, you know, rivalry. Like, that series is, like, I'm guessing, like, they didn't go out there and put everything on the ice for those games. But these games between Toronto and Boston, they did. They go out there, they fight like hell, and after all is said and done, in the end of the season, the Bruins are 4-0 against the Maple Leafs this year. Maple Leafs 0-2-2. Can't secure any win against the Boston Bruins this season. And this really worries me, because Toronto has proven over and over and over and over and over again, I think I had the amount of overs right, that the structure of this team, being William Nylander, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, and I guess Morgan Riley, just and having all of their cap in those guys and doing nothing and little to nothing to fix the depth of offense, goaltending, and defense has been an improvement. I'll talk about that in a second, but we've seen it in recent years, right? Look at Colorado last year losing to the Seattle Kraken, right there, right? You know, here they are too, getting bounced by the Seattle Kraken, right? Why? Why did that happen? Because the Avalanche, even though their goaltending was at least like decent enough, goal defense was pretty solid, especially with Makar and Taves and Manson, like, and Byram at the time, like some pretty solid picks. And then of course McKinnon, Rantanen running the offense. Like, they have some good pieces, but the depth falls out when after the first line they were dust. And this is the same thing with the Maple Leafs. Now, they have improved, and that is where I do have a little bit of doubt in what my opinions are right now, because this might be the best Leafs team to go into the playoffs. And I feel like some of the steam has kind of fell off of them in a little bit, because every year was just like a joke and a joke and a joke, and it was always a debate. And now that it's kind of been, I think most people have come to terms with with what I'm saying now, and what most people have been on the other side of the fence saying, that the structure just doesn't work. And especially with the moving out of Kyle Dubas and hit the Dubas plan, I feel like a lot of people have kind of like gone away. But what Tree Living has done to this team to add Bertuzzi, to bring in Max Domi, and also Dubas's moves of like Jake McCabe in the back end, like there has been some decent additions to the team. Matthew Nyes is someone who I think about. Like, they do have a little bit more depth than they usually do, right? Because right now, it has been a career year for some of the top guys. It has been Matthews' goal scoring, if you haven't heard, just being an absolute god at scoring goals this year, scoring 69 goals since Lemieux did it in 91 or something like that, 87? No, that's something like that. And he's scoring 69 goals this season, being a maniac at putting goals on the net. And then the other guys like William Nylander, Mitch Marner, especially Nylander having his outstanding season he's had. Like the top guys are performing for the Maple Leafs, right? And the top 6 additions, right? So instead of last year it being just like those guys like Mitch Marner, Matthews, and then Nyes, right? And then it being like Tavares, Nylander, and then whoever filled in that final role there, right? Now it does feel a little bit more suitable where you have Max Domi, you have Ryan Reeves somewhere, I'm sure he'll be in the playoffs. Then you especially have you have Tyler Bertuzzi, and then Nyes having his addition to the lineup being more developed in the NHL. Bobby McMahon's been a fine player for them in the depth position. And then also defense is okay. And I know most of you watching this will probably be like, oh no, but no, like, listen, the defense of the Maple Leafs is somewhat okay. Like, it is not the worst defense in the league by any means, not the worst defense maybe in the playoffs. But at the same time, it isn't enough to save them from their horrible goaltending and depth up front, because their goaltending is atrocious. And I'm sure you watching this at home probably be like, oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't seen them. You're not even watching them. But listen, Samsonov is not that goaltender. He just is not that guy. He is not the type of goalie who is going to like perform like Alex Lyon or Bobrovsky in the playoffs, that just like be lights out even if the defense is horrible in front of him. He is going to crack before he bends. And that is just the situation they're in. Joseph Woll, same thing. Whoever's in net for Toronto is not going to be suitable. And especially against the Boston Bruins. The Bruins, with how deep they are, with the up-front guys who can score goals like Pasternak and Marchand. But then it's not just that. Because the biggest thing for me in this series is always the circumstance of like, okay, the top stars, can they lock them down? Because a team like Seattle almost lost just because guys like McKinnon and Makar exist. Avalanche weren't going to win the playoffs last year anyways, but they could have beaten at least the Seattle Kraken, and they didn't, because the Kraken were able to shut down the Stars just enough, And that's what worries me, is a team like Boston, when they have some solid shutdown guys. You put McAvoy on the ice with Austin Matthews. You put McAvoy and Lindholm on the ice with Matthews and Marner. And same thing goes. And then you keep going down the lineup. You have Carlo on the ice. And shut down guys like Nylander and Tavares. And then especially how good their goaltending is. Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman are going to be good goaltenders. Last year, the Maple Leafs won their first round, finally. In the first time in forever, right? The Coyotes have more playoff wins, and they don't even exist anymore. And the Toronto Maple Leafs ran into a Tampa Bay Lightning team that was clearly just becoming pylons, as they were so dead tired from all the games they've played. They were just running into a dead end of play. And if you guys remember, in the regular season, they were getting Kucherov, Point, and Stamkos were getting benched. And the Lightning were in a bad place. Vasilevsky was just not himself. Toronto ran into a good matchup against Tampa, and then they got smacked in the face by the Florida Panthers. And for me, it's going to be the same thing. Austin Matthews, as good as his goal scoring is not going to translate into the playoffs repeatedly against the Boston Bruins. And for me, this series, regardless of anything, is going to go the distance because they are just that good of a combo against each other. It is not going to be a sweep. It's not going to be a 5-game series. It's going to go at least 6 to 7. And to me, there is no way about it. Toronto has done the same thing every year, just with a little bit of tweaks. Because the first year, 2017, they go in, definitely not winning the cup, but had look, we made it in. And then it's just year after year where it's 2018, not the year. 2019, a little bit better, not the year. 2020, not the year. They get bounced by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And it's just every single season where it's we're a little bit better. This year we're a little bit better. And it's just, a little bit. But it's still the same idea, right? If you built a whole house out of popsicle sticks, right? And every single season you just add one little block at the one little Jenga piece at the bottom of the structure to make it that much better and stronger, there is still a wrecking ball that is coming. You haven't enforced anything. So to me, the Maple Leafs, they've done it over and over again. And for me, that there's just literally no other way about this series at all. And I'm sure this is going to be a shocker to no one, and I'm pretty sure most people at this point are going to go with this as well. But I'm going to say Boston in 7. Because I don't think I'm saying anything shocking. And I think most Maple Leaf fans are probably in the same place, where every year it felt like Maple Leaf fans were just so dead on that this was going to be the year. But I definitely think that sentiment has gone away, and they're just tired of the same thing, and it's just not going to be it. And I think people are getting tired of it, and I think most Maple Leaf fans are like, yeah, you're right. We haven't done anything. This is not going to change. And even if they get past the Bruins, which I don't think, because the Bruins are just so good defensively, and they can just shut down one team, in the neutral zone, getting to their zone, and then they run into the brick wall of defense, and then the goaltending. The Toronto Maple Leafs are nowhere near as close to winning a playoff series against the Boston Bruins. And it is going to be a fun series to watch, because the Maple Leafs guys, they do show up. Marner might make some really dumb mistakes and might look like an idiot sometimes in the playoffs, but their guys show up, especially Morgan Riley and William Nylander. And I think this year will be Matthews he will score a goal every game, but that will not change that the Bruins are going to win this one. So that is all I got to say. The Bruins, they have another date with destiny to beat the Maple Leafs, and maybe this will be the year where something changes. This is the year where maybe this offseason where the Maple Leafs finally go, you know what? You're right. Our structure sucks. And they move out a guy like Mitch Marner. I was going to call him Mitchell. Get rid of Mitch Marner. Bring in a solid guy to fit along with Matthews, and then actually pad in the defense and offense. Or not. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But that is all I got to say. So thank you for watching this. If you made it this far, I'm sure you are disagreeing with me. And if you're agreeing with me, let's show it down below. Tell me. And if you made it this far, please, I'm begging you, please subscribe. Please, I'm begging. Please. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.